Hello, hello. Testing my audio. It'd help if I wasn't muted. Awesome. Hello, hello. Welcome back. We surely have recovered from the internet issues that plagued us last week. We skipped a week, but we're ready to roll this week. So, also, I was having some voice issues yesterday, so I'm full up on coffee and tea and water, so everything should be good, but we'll see. But this week we will continue working on Elixir Emporium. And I think the best thing to do is probably just to start out playing it a little bit. We had a ton of playtesters the last couple weeks, and we got a ton of feedback. We've also been planning out like the next phase of things. We intentionally started with a very, very tight loop. I'll show you in a second, but basically the whole loop of the game is you get a problem or a challenge from some NPC, and you are tasked with creating an item that can help with that. So what we've been focused on is mostly tightening that loop up, so it feels good to create that item. It feels interesting when you get the task. It feels believable when you give them the item and you see if it works or not, because it is all powered by AI, so it's very open-ended, very creative heavy, I would say. We can talk later about if it's too creative or too open-ended, but I think that's the vibe we're going for right now. But now that that's kind of in place and we've shown the game to a few people and they think it's kind of cool, and we've kind of seen some common feedback across all of them of like, man, I have this idea for an item that I would craft, but I can't craft it because I don't have the pieces or the components. So I think our next step is going to just expand that loop. You'll still get challenges or problems from NPCs, and then your main gameplay is crafting a solution or a resolution to it, and giving it back to that NPC. But we're going to expand it in two ways. One is giving you a lot more options for finding or creating or disassembling, basically progressing through all that item space and finding the items that you need in order to craft the one you're thinking of. If you're like, oh man, this guy really needs gloves, how are you going to get leather? Or how are you going to get the items that you would need to craft gloves? So we've kind of seen people they like the idea of the game, and most of the frustrations so far are like, ooh, I have this idea for a solution, I just can't craft it. So that's kind of the one way we're going to tackle it. And then the other approach is we're going to make the NPCs a little bit more basically just redo that whole NPC system. Right now you have you're in one location, but you get one NPC at a time. He's randomly generated every time. He has a random problem every time. And you can either help him, or you can dismiss him, or you can give him an item that doesn't help. And helping him is the main way you get more items. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to help people as much as you can. So what we'll be tackling in that direction is we're going to introduce some locations into the game where you can kind of choose where you go. For example, you might start out in this like medieval town, just a pretty basic town, but from there you might head over to like a fishing town where people have problems fishing, or their rewards might be ocean related or fish related. You get seashells and nets and things like that. Or you might head over to like a volcano where people are really hot, or like they're, I don't know, lots of heat related problems, survivability, stuff like that. But their rewards might be more like giving you obsidian, or like chunks of magma, or geodes, or whatever it is. So you'll be able to kind of predict a little bit more the NPC's problems that you'll be approaching in the future. And you'll also be able to predict kind of the rewards you'll get back. So you can kind of make more of an informed decision. It's still mostly random, but you have a lot more control over like, oh, if I want to help this specific person, I guess you have more control of the predictability. Like, oh, I'm going to a fishing town, I'm expecting these kind of problems. So but looking at my inventory, I might be like, oh, I have a lot of ice or things that make people cold, so maybe I want to go to that volcano. Or maybe I have a lot of like nets and spears and harpoons and stuff, so I'll go to that fishing town because I'll probably be able to help people there. And it's a lot more of there's a concept of like input randomness versus output randomness. I can explain that later, but basically it's capitalizing on that output randomness. Instead of giving players actions that they don't know what the outcome is, you're giving players a bunch of random inputs, and they're choosing a desired outcome from it. So I think I have a lot more to say, but maybe I'll open up the game and we can just play it a little bit and get kind of a sense of how things are looking. I've got a work in progress build that I'll show you guys in a second, but we can play the released version. Actually, it's not yet up on our website, so let me just head on over to chromagolem.itch.io, and I'll update my stream link as well. But if you want to play this game as well, it's up on chromagolem.itch.io, and you can play yourself. It's fun. It's free. I like it. Let me update my stream as well, or my text on my stream. Cool. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just play some. And tell me if the audio is too loud, the game audio. I think it's really loud, and so I defaulted it really low by default. But a couple of people I've showed it to have said that it's really low by default. So just let me know where it falls on stream for you guys. But basically this is Elixir Emporium if you haven't seen it yet. Bizarre problems plague a town perched on the edge of the unusual. As an alchemist, you can twist and blend matter to fix their woes. Will your skills restore the ordinary to the extraordinary place? And we've got a couple different starts that you can choose from right now. We're actually going to do away with those. They're more for just testing a couple different ways to play pretty quickly. And I think what people have mostly liked is the Artificer. I'm not sure how to say it actually, and the apothecary. The elementalist is more traditional, like little alchemy style. That seems like a bug. And also, this shouldn't be over here. I'm gonna also take some notes for things we can fix real fast. Title page, border on the right side of the screen, and background image occasionally goes to full transparency. I think that's what's happening when we saw the purple background behind it, when it kind of faded out. We have a list of colors that we cycle between. I bet one of them doesn't have the correct transparency value. But what I was saying was Elementalist is very much like the traditional Little Alchemy style, where you start out with earth, wind, fire, air, and you're combining those. We just wanted to test those out to see how they feel, but because of the nature of this game, where you're trying to craft very specific solutions to problems, I think these are a little bit too abstract and too vague. So we'll probably keep a lot of those recipes around if you are to create like earth or fire or wind or whatever, but starting as an elementalist with those elements doesn't really make a lot of sense. And maybe let's play through one of each actually, and we'll take some notes on them all. But Mysticist is also a lot more, it's not necessarily as abstract, but the recipes don't make a lot of sense. It's more about like mixing potions and combining like a bat's leg and the tears of a worm and seeing what you get, and it's all very very, very high fantasy, versus these are a lot more with the artificer. I need to figure out how to say it, but you craft like gears and use electricity and build little machines and components and put stuff together and build tools. And the apothecary, you craft a little bit more potions like you do, but it's using more grounded in reality stuff. So you've got like mushrooms, and you can get penicillin from mold, and like if you have fruit, you can use thyme on it to get rotten fruit, and from there you can get mold. And there's a lot more of like a science-y focus, but it's also kind of very nature-y. So that's my favorite. I think we're gonna just play through each of them once. I have a lot to potentially code, but I'm procrastinating because they're pretty big. Excuse me. They're pretty big changes and improvements, and so it'd be nice to just have a little time to play through and relax and get some small changes that we can do first in the stream too. And I don't think that we'll get through all of these things on stream. Probably one or two, just because they're pretty big. But I'll talk about them a little bit more. Let's just play a little bit. Start as an artificer. And one thing I also noticed from the playtesting is throwing people into this UI immediately is a little overwhelming. So we're also working on a more introduction or tutorial level where you get very limited amount of items. It's a lot more, the UI is shown as you progress through it. I'm still scripting it all out to decide how we want to do it, but that's one big piece of feedback we got is you watch a player start playing and they get dumped into this UI, and almost every single one of them are like, what is this? But we got our first NPC. We do probably want to decrease these paragraph lengths, so let's just say general. That's another bit of feedback we've got, is just the text is just a little bit too long. I think it'll be fine once we add voiceover, but I think it would be nice if it didn't scroll at all. And we're going to redo some of this UI as well to make it a little, just a little more ready to expand. We have a lot more panels we're going to open. Sometimes you want to see, like, you want to leave this text open so you can browse the shop and see what there is. Things are very large, so we got a lot of room to play with, so we'll be redoing the UI a bit too as we progress through. But we have Christian, a knight sworn to protect this realm. Every night under the full moon's embrace, his shadow becomes a living, malignant entity, challenging him to duels and wreaking havoc upon the countryside. This menacing shadow not only risks my knighthood, but terrorizes those I've vowed to protect. Okay, so we just need to craft something that helps him with that. Easy peas. So we're playing as the artificer. You know what? Let's just let's do this real fast before I make a fool of myself on all stream. Hope that's not copyright music.
His words revolted me. I loathed the thought of such ingenious...
To read for you. In the theory with which we have to deal, absolute ignorance is the artificer. So...
Artificer. We're going with that. Alright. Cool, so let's craft something that helps this guy deal with his shadow. I think we're gonna go with, we got some like crystal, obsidian, and glass could all be good. Maybe even dust or ash. Coal also is pretty dark. Maybe we do something with that, like crystal and coal. What do we get? A diamond. You know, I guess it's fine. Not quite what we wanted. Side note: one of the other things that we will be adding is being able to deconstruct these items. Almost everyone has asked for an undo button, but we're gonna do you one better. We're gonna let you say like, oh, I have a diamond. You can deconstruct that diamond into any recipe that you've discovered. So that adds a little bit of more strategy of like, you can go to the shop and be like, oh, I'll buy this mechanism so I can deconstruct it into a gear and some steel or something. Just more ways to get the items that you want. Let's try obsidian and dust. Sandpaper, okay, not quite. Ash and glass. Obsidian, interesting. Polished obsidian. Okay, we kind of need something like fantastical for this guy. This is good. Good feedback for myself of just seeing like how each class plays, because these are very non-magical, non-fantastical starting components, and it's a little difficult to come up with something that is a quote-unquote solution. So let's try a polished obsidian mechanism. Precision clockwork, okay. We could do something with that, and like night and day comes to mind. So maybe add that with a crystal. We got a timekeeper gem. We're cooking now. You know, maybe let's go ahead and let's give him that. See if it helps. Probably not, but you know, you can't win them all until... Okay, he likes it. This timekeeper gem will be able to synchronize his rogue shadow with the natural flow of time. Perfect. Alright, so I'll also say we'll dismiss him and get the next guy. But once we add these locations, the rewards that you get will also be a lot more themed towards both the location and the NPC you're talking to, because they'll also be themed to the location. Right now they're completely random. It's just items that you've discovered, and anytime you create a new item, like wax and pebble doesn't exist as a recipe, you create a candle. Now candle exists in the game, and you can get that as a reward. It can show up in the shop. you will be able to break it down into other items and so on. So the more you play, the more game world is generated, and you work within these kind of evolving rules in the world. Cool. So this person is Felicia, the town's executioner. Every time they fulfill their duty, the specters of those they've dispatched haunt me incessantly. Spirits have a peculiar habit of manifesting as adorable kittens in my presence, rendering me incapable of focusing on my tasks or getting a moment's peace. The situation has become unbearable. I will say I love all of these ridiculous problems. We're also adding a little bit more variety. Right now this is one prompt that generates these like fantastical problems, and we're adding in a couple more prompts that maybe I'll do on stream today that have more mundane problems, and also kind of different types of problems. So maybe one person is having a birthday party and really needs you to make a cake, or somebody's missing like a gear in their machine or something, where it's a little bit more obvious what they need. We had some feedback where jumping into something like, oh, my shadow detaches from me and duels me every night is a little abstract to just be thrown into when you're figuring out how the UI works. So we're gonna kind of start with those more mundane ones and then kind of scale you up into the more fantastical ones. But there's also some other cool ones that we're planning of, like, if you only have a few items in your inventory, we can use the AI to, for example, generate a riddle or like a poem or something that has you like use some logic to determine, oh, they're really asking me for sand, or maybe sand plus a gear, one or two items in your inventory, and then you give it to them. And we'll probably trend towards those when you have very few items in your inventory, because you'll be able to help people using fewer items, and then you'll be getting more items in return because you were able to help them. But yeah, there's a lot more work to do. We've had tons. We had like I think it was like 6,000 people try out the game on itch. So that's awesome. We saw a ton of it in our API logs, and as a just a quick little plug, that's the word. This demo is built on our new Chromagolem API, which is for adding AI to games, specifically for like game development. If you head on over to api.chromagolem.com, you can go ahead and sign up for the AI API, and we got it's super easy to do. It's basically a swap-in replacement for OpenAI, but it's cheaper. Don't tell anyone. This is actually like half the price of GPT 3.5 Turbo if you just use OpenAI. So yeah, we'd love to get more people using it. We are building it out for our own games because we needed a lot of the infrastructure in place before we put anything on Steam. So we built it for ourselves, and we threw some user wrappers on it. So if anybody else wants to add, currently just text generation, but we're also going to do image generation and voiceover generation. And we'll see what other AI is available real soon, like music generation, video generation. We'll see. It's all in a nice package, and we're also working on some more customized endpoints, so you can, instead of having to go through all the technical process of like crafting prompts and testing and seeing which ones work the best for specific tasks, we're adding endpoints specifically for crafting NPCs, creating dialogue with them in a conversation, crafting items will be a big one in this one, crafting locations. So all these you can just hit the API with a really simple like description of what you want, and we do the hard part of building up that prompt and making sure everything looks good and returning you back your data in the right format. And there's also some other cool stuff, like you can hit the API with a prompt of give me a character with a personality named this, and real soon you'll be able to do some like A/B testing across models. So you can opt into we'll save your prompt temporarily and generate a response with all of the models that we support. So you can compare between GPT 3.5 Turbo, GPT-4. We're going to add in Mistral and some other ones as well. So you can kind of see, instead of having to install all these models yourself, you'll be able to see the output and be like, oh, I really like the quality of GPT-4, so I'm going to go with that model for this task. Or maybe GPT 3.5 Turbo is good enough so you know that you can go to that cheaper model for that task. But yeah, let's get back to figuring out what Felicia needs. She's an executioner by profession. All the people she has dispatched manifest as adorable kittens and distract her. So I think this is going to be probably just as abstract. I think that's kind of the trend we're seeing so far with the Artificer. Very abstract and hard to construct specific solutions with our starting items. But, I mean, they liked our last item, so we'll kind of see if we can craft something. But, let's see, we got some precision, clockwork. Maybe we do like what does crystal and mechanism give us? A timepiece, alright. I don't think that's gonna help as much this time because it's not like a nightly event, it's just every time they fulfill their duty. So maybe we give them some mechanical lantern. We got anything in the shop? Not really. Let's get some dust and maybe silver. Sanding powder. Mirrored glass. We can work with that. Some sort of like mirror that they can see some sort of reality from. I kind of want to add obsidian to that because it's kind of the more fantastical metal, or stone, I suppose. I'm a little worried about not being able to undo it quite yet because we haven't built that yet, but let's see what we get. Mirrored glass and obsidian, a dragon glass reflection. Yeah, I don't think that will help. That is cool though. Let's go ahead and let's go through another route of like, let's do clay and a pebble. We get pottery. I think that's not that great. Maybe we throw iron on that. Cast iron cookware. Not quite. Sand glass. Silver. Timeless jewelry. We're very quickly reaching the end of what might be helpful. Let's do a timepiece with our scented breeze. An aroma clock. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I don't know what I expected. Let's put some copper on that, get a little more. Okay, patina perfume. You know, you might be able to... Let's put sandpaper on that. Let's see what we get. Antique restoration potion. That seems like it'd be helpful for someone else, but not us. Chisel in a spring. We got a sculpture. Let's do an iron sculpture. And let's throw sand on something and then we'll pick our best option, really. Let's put sand on the dragon glass reflection, an hourglass. I think we had that, but oh, we had sand glass, hourglass. So that's also the kind of thing where we might tweak the prompts a little bit later. So we can either pass in all of the existing items and say like these are the items, and so it can kind of fit into one or create a new one. I don't think we'll do it that way because one, that'll balloon the prompt huge, and two, I think it would bias a little bit towards existing items too much. But I do think we can probably chain it to another prompt every time we generate a new item and say, hey, is this item new or should it be merged into an existing item? And most of the time it'll be new, but occasionally it might pick up on like hourglass and sandglass hourglass, and then that's where we would say, okay, actually instead of hourglass or sandglass, use the one we already had. But let's give Felicia a mechanical lantern. I don't think it will be helpful, but you know, apparently it was. She gave us tons of items. How do you think it's helpful, Felicia? Its intricate design and ethereal glow hint at its power to ward off the adorable yet distracting specters. Okay, so just a bigger distraction. I think we also want to make a note of we definitely want NPCs to be a lot more specific in like how they think it would help, more like judgy almost, of like that probably shouldn't have helped her, and maybe some NPCs are a little bit more open to weird things like that, but it's I would say the output that really feels bad is when you give them an item you think will help and they don't think it helps. The reverse of you give them an item that you don't think will help and they do think helps, I think is fine, but you don't want that to happen very often. Like, it's a nice surprise, but if this is how things go every round, I think a lot of players are going to just be like, I can give them whatever I want and not really spend a lot of time thinking about what the actual item they give or the resolution is. But let's go ahead and we restock the shop because we dismissed someone. Let's get our next visitor. We got a bunch of new items. Let's see who we've got now. Alright, we've got Walter, a musician whose plight seems rarer than a blue moon, which is pretty common, right? Every time he plays his lute, flowers begin to sprout uncontrollably from his instrument. Okay. Can you brew a potion to rid me of this flowery predicament and let my music flow unimpeded once again? I think that's a great example of how we want NPCs to be a lot more specific about the item they think they want. And that's still very vague way to word it, but we will just want to go in that direction of we don't really want to be dealing in the vague items, both in the prompt itself and our solution. So the more we can get these visitors to be specific about what they think they want, and also specific in the items we give them, their response to that specific item, and so on, I think that's good for the game. But what do we have here to stop flowers from sprouting uncontrollably from an instrument? We can give them some sandpaper, we can give them some coal. Do we have any maybe like dirt? Give them a bucket. A spring and coal. A diamond. Okay. Feels like everything makes diamonds. Crystal and coal. It's pretty much just anything with coal, I guess. So, wonder... Okay, we can't buy any more coal, but that probably would have been a good investment. Let's buy some gold though. Let's see. I guess we can sand this diamond down. Oh, a cutting tool. Okay. Let's see. Let's cut this metal statue up. And let's maybe do some gold dust. Glitter. We got Dimitri coming in to say hi. He's got a little divot in my lap, so he's ready to go. Let's see, we've got sanding powder, perfume. Maybe we give him some... Wow, we actually have 2 of the patina perfume, which is because the rewards are all random from items you've discovered. So, first couple rounds, until we add a lot more items to start with, you're going to get a lot more duplicates. And we're hard coding in a lot more items in the game as well. Let's give them some perfume. Maybe they can spray that on the instrument, stop the plants from growing, the flowers from growing. With but a few spritzes on my loot, the blossoming has ceased. Easy peas. Maybe even 2 E's. Alright. So, thinking about the, like, long-term progression of, like, continuing to play the game, you want to see that you're getting rewarded, that you're doing good, and so on. We kind of have these 2 quote-unquote rewards right now. The recipes will always go up as you discover more and more recipes. The gold will fluctuate a little bit. You'll get more gold when you do well, but you might also spend it, so it isn't necessarily a result of like progression through the game. I think one thing that we are missing is a logbook of all the people that you've helped, and being able to see, like, oh, I've helped 5 people, and also be able to scroll through, or like kind of in the similar very, very basic vein of seeing all the people, their problem, the item you gave them, and what they think that it whether it was useful or not, their dialogue basically. There's a lot of like, if that's the point of the game, is to discover these people and help them out, I think it's a very big missing piece to not have some sort of log. So let's say like an NPC logbook. That's a big thing we want to add, I think. And I think that'll be more relevant once we get these locations in place, where each location will have about probably 8 to 10 NPCs that you can repeatedly help. You'll be able to go into that logbook and see, like, their previous problems and what you gave them and whether it was helpful or not. Also, I just realized my stream is set to playing Planet Zoo. Let me update that real fast. Alright, we should be good now. Whoopsies. Where was I? Right, the NPCs. We'll have some NPCs in each town, and you can repeatedly help them. That'll also be relevant because the kind of big direction we're going towards is also a kind of a friendship score with those NPCs where either as you help them repeatedly or you just like talk to them, you can build up that friendship, and each NPC will have some sort of value that they give you. For example, this is an alchemist, so if he gets a high enough friendship with you, we'll have like a party of members that you can recruit, and each one will have a skill, so you could drag iron or something you don't want onto this alchemist in your party, and he will use his alchemist powers and convert it into another random item, or maybe like another item of the same material. Or if you have a wizard, maybe they can enchant an item. Or if you have one cool idea we had is if you recruit like a genie or an artist, you could draw the item that you want, and the AI would determine what that thing is you drew, and it would give you that item. I think there's a lot of cool mechanics that you can open up when you start adding a lot more of these tools, and that'll be really cool. And also, when you're in these locations and you're like, oh, I really like Arthur the Alchemist, every time I help him, he does this good thing for me, so I don't necessarily want to go to another location where he's not there. Once he has a high enough friendship level, you can recruit him into your party, and you can bring him on to other locations, and you'll be able to help both him and the people in that location. So you've got this kind of limited party where you are trying to figure out who you want to bring along, but it also helps you in building up these friendships over time and kind of getting the value from that without leaving people behind. But let's check out what Arthur wants. He's an alchemist and a monster hunt. Oh, I'm the alchemist. I didn't even read that. Okay, so that was a bad example, but if we were to recruit Arthur the monster hunter, maybe we can give him some sort of like weapon that we've crafted, and he could go out dungeoning and return with some sort of monster spoil. And the way I see it happening right now is they have these abilities, and you can use it once every time you help them. But also, if they're in your party, they probably are following you in, like, they like what you're doing, they like you helping people. So every time you help somebody else, everyone in your party will also offer their skill to you once as well. So you craft up this team of 4 or 5 people, go help some other people, and then you have this big repertoire of tools at your disposal that you can use to then help more people. So it's kind of like a loop there. Arthur finds himself in a peculiar bind. Each time he fells a beast, its spectral form begins haunting me, whispering curses and making rest an impossible luxury. So he cannot sleep because of these relentless hauntings. I think we can probably work with our hourglass, something to like put him to sleep. Or maybe like mirrored glass might be able to dissuade these hauntings. But let's try can we buy gold? Gold, maybe we grab obsidian as well. It's always a good piece. Time is a good one. If we were to do an obsidian hourglass, time-locked portal. Oh, that's interesting. Let's do glitter hourglass. Time sparkles. Mirrored glass, time sparkles. Time reflecting mirror. Okay. We're cooking. Metal statue and a sculpture. Art gallery. Yeah. Let's see here. let's give him that. Well, yeah, let's give him a time-locked portal. Maybe he can sleep with frozen time or something. Yeah, didn't help. Yeah, we also got to fix this jitter every time the text wraps. Cool, but I mean that's the first time that our item wasn't that helpful. But I did just realize we've been playing this for like 45 minutes now. So there definitely won't be time to play one of each class. I think what I'm gonna do is let's refresh, let's restart the game. Let's play a little bit of the apothecary. Or, well, yeah, let's do the apothecary. Just kind of get more of a sense of this playstyle, because the other one was very like gears and metal and stone and things like that. So I want to try out this more like softer, naturey approach, just to see how that feels in comparison, and then maybe we'll get into some code. So we have Maud, the village apothecary, often mingling herbs and dreams to brew remedies that soothe souls. However, every potion he crafts with the purest of intentions turns bitter and harmful, as though a curse twists my skill against me. Okay, can your mastery uncover a concoction to shield or purify my creations, restoring their intended benevolence? I bet so. We got an unmixed potion to work with. Eucalyptus might be good. Mortar and pestle obviously might be useful. We got plants, we got lavender. Okay, what happens if we get eucalyptus and lavender? Aromatherapy mist. Maybe we use that on the plant. We got a growth elixir. Okay, that might be useful later. Let's try plant with mortar and pestle. We got herbal medicine. That might be enough, but let's throw cotton on it, soften it up a little bit. We got a bandage. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, cotton and herbal medicine. Alright, so how about petal and bamboo? We got a floral flute. Let's see here. We definitely do want a lot more items in the starting pool. They're kind of all separate right now because we have the 4 classes, but I think once we merge them all, it'll be a lot nicer. Let's get a tincture, some oil, maybe a root, and then we'll use the root on... Oh, we already used our pestle and mortar. Let's do oil with our root. We got a potion. Okay. And then... bark. Healing salve. Okay. I think of all these, the growth elixir is probably our best bet. He did not like it. I wasn't really sold on it either. While a concoction of undeniable potency may not directly rid my potions of their unintended malevolence. It sparks an idea though, perhaps suggesting that growth and learning might be the key to overcoming my mysterious affliction. Okay. Let's see what else we got. We got 1 gold as well. Unmixed potion. Great one to have. Okay. We also want to be able to sort and like stack these items too. That's another bit of feedback we've got. Right now, you start with a ton of items because there aren't really a lot of ways to get more. So that won't be such an immediate issue, but it's nice to kind of get that feedback now because it's something that players would see a little later in the game if they were progressing from like starting 5 items or so. We got Reynold, a pirate by trade, known for plundering the high seas. Every map he ogles turns to dust the moment I lay me eyes upon it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Something to shield me gaze or make these maps immune. Okay, so either like sunglasses, goggles, some sort of glass that he could peer through. Let's take some potions out. We don't really have anything related to like sight, which is unfortunate. Like when we played as the artificer, we had glass and prisms and diamonds and stuff, which would have been helpful here. Maybe we grab a rose. Try and get like rose glasses or something. Can't make glass from any of this, I bet. Yeah. Okay. Let's do a rose potion. Love. Oh, yeah, I guess that. Yeah. Okay. Bucket and. Let's do shears and bamboo. This is one of those cases where we kind of have some ideas of a few different solutions that would be nice, and the frustrating part is we don't really have the components or any way to get them. So it's kind of like, man, that would be cool if I could do it and see if it works. So that's why we're adding a lot more options for getting the specific components that you're looking for. I think that'll improve this loop a lot more, and then we can also from there work on the progression over time. So let's put a thorn in our bamboo flute. We got wind chimes. Okay, that could be like mystical, maybe. Got a tincture. What if we put some pebble in it? Medicinal stone. Put some sand on that. Healing glass. Okay, we got glass. That's good. Okay. But it's not quite like glass you can peer through. We need like mystical glass. But maybe we give the healing glass to him. Could be like healing glasses almost that he wears. Alright, he likes it. The very treasure he's been searching for. He can finally gaze upon his maps without reducing them to dust. Perfect. Alright. What else we got? We also got some good items back. We got Piers the barkeep. His laughter has turned to distress, for every beverage I pour magically transforms into plain water the moment it touches the patron's lips. Alright, I think the bucket will be useful here. We got bucket and... we have a couple buckets, right? So we can play with it a little bit. Let's put a let's... Okay, we've got a third bucket up here. Let's put a pebble in a bucket, see what we get. A rock garden. Not really that useful. Let's put our growth elixir in a bucket. Overflowing garden. Okay, let's go ahead and make a zen garden there. Alright, we have one bucket left. Let's do a bucket of herbal medicine. Medicinal brew. Okay, yeah, that seems like it would be helpful. I bet it will be. Yeah, heck yeah. Cool. His gratitude knows no bounds, and I think it'll be cool when the NPC's rewards are related more towards their profession and the area you're in, because it'll also let you say, like, when you have these 10 NPCs to browse through and be like, oh, I'm looking at all their problems. This guy probably wants some sort of medicinal elixir or something, but I bet he will reward us with like beer or alcohol or something. You'll be able to see like the other NPCs in town and predict what they might want from their problems, and so you kind of get this ordering problem too of, oh, I'll help this guy first so I can get some alcohol, which I'll mix with a plant or something to help this other person. And so I think that'll be really cool too, where you can kind of predict more of the rewards instead of just random ones that you've discovered. Let's maybe do 1 or 2 more. I would love to give somebody a Zen garden. Let's throw some aromatherapy mist on there too. A serenity space. Sounds great. Alright. Risk the sorceress. Each time you cast a spell, I unintentionally summon a swarm of bees. Bees that seem to fancy me in a most affectionate manner, making it impossible for me to concentrate or even leave my dwelling without being enveloped in a buzzing cloak of affection. This constant companionship hinders my practice and daily life. Okay, so every time you cast a spell, a swarm of bees snuggles you. Okay. We do have a love potion. Aromatherapy mist. Wind chimes might be a good idea. Kinda get the bees to shoo away from the noise, maybe? What happens if we mix aromatherapy mist with wind chimes? Harmony breeze. Okay. Let's mix that with serenity space. We got tranquil wind. Okay. Floral flute. You know, that seems really related to bees. But it would attract them, not really make them go away. What if we... Let's take some ginger and flour. Snow. Ice. Stocking up. Alright, let's do ginger and a flower. We get herbal tea. Yeah. Iced tea. Chilled tea. Chilled tea rock garden. Zen retreat. Okay. You know, that might give them some respite from the bees. Not quite, but I guess he would still summon bees there. Okay. Alright, maybe one more. Ambrose, a devoted nun, will be giving her a love potion. Recently, every prayer I utter turns to song, filling the sacred silence of our chapel with melodies, both day and night. My sisters grow wary, and I fear my uncontrollable serenades may drive me from my spiritual home. Can you help me find a potion to silence my musical curse so I can pray in peace once more? Okay, so we have an unmixed potion here. What can we mix with it? Pepper. Fungus. Potion of decay. Okay, we can work with that. Let's throw in a thorn too. Poison ivy. Nope. We ruined it. Alright. Poison ivy with a healing salve. Itchy ointment. I guess doesn't really help. Alright, let's start with our tincture. Tincture and anything to do with like sound. Maybe the medicinal stone might be good too. Let's do a tranquil wind with tincture. Aromatherapy. Okay. We also do have a potion we can use. Nothing really to do about sound. Well, bamboo flute, maybe? Let's put that in a potion. Enchanted flute. Okay. Not quite, because they want the silence. Might as well mix that with the floral flute, though. Symphony of Blossoms. Now that's interesting. So we can mix that with our medicinal stone, which I think might work on its own. I'm curious what the two mix would be. Maybe we mix that with tincture and decide between those two. Perfume. Let's give her a medicinal stone. See if it helps. Nope. Alright. Okay, well I think that gives us a nice little introduction of kind of where the game is at right now. I think we're ready to get into some code. I'm gonna take a quick break real fast, and I'll be back in just 2 minutes. Thank you for joining me. I'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back. So, let's get into some code. So this is a very close version to what we just played. I've just mocked up a little bit of kind of the stuff that we're talking about adding. We've got some new buttons down here that aren't hooked up yet, but they coincide with what we're going to add. So once we've added locations, we will have this button here for traveling between locations. We will try and keep them consistent within your playthrough, so you'll get a little coordinate system. If you return to the same coordinate, you'll get the same location, same NPCs. but all the locations will be generated each time you play, so it'll be different every time. We're also adding a foraging system, which maybe we'll start with that. But basically, based on your location, you'll get some items available for you to go get. So if you're at a volcano, maybe you get obsidian and magma and stone and ashes and stuff like that. If you're at a fishing town, you get fish and nets and a boat or whatever. But that'll kind of be a motivator to keep traveling because each location will only have a limited amount of stuff that you can get. Maybe we'll refresh it or add like some each time you help a person to like kind of show the progression of time. But that's really just like there's a lot of items in the game right now that are free. They don't really make sense to have a value. Like you're not going to go to the store and buy air. So all those zero cost items are going to be able to show up in this foraging section. And that's just another way for you to get some free items that should be able to help with you crafting what you want. And that kind of ties into the travel system where you'll probably pay like 3 or 5 coins or something in order to travel to a new location, like a train ticket or something. And so that kind of converts all of those free items into a single cost. So every time you travel, which costs a little, you get a bunch of free stuff back. So it kind of evens out. And we'll get better icons for all these too. This guy is going to bring up a list of all the NPCs in town, wherever you're at. So it'll show how many NPCs are here and let you kind of scroll through them all, see their bio, maybe not necessarily their problem yet, but you can generate that if you click on them. So that'll just let you pick and choose which NPCs you want to help based on whether you think you can or not with your current items. It'll also let you pick and choose what order you want to help NPCs. It'll let you repeatedly help the same NPC over and over again, build up that friendship. And speaking of friendship, we have one more button over here, which is your party. And that will bring up all of the people that you've convinced to come with you. So if you repeatedly help a wizard in town, or an alchemist, or a apothecary, or something, and you like their ability, but you want to travel to the next location to get more items and get more challenges, you can do that by convincing them to join you. They come along with you, and then they're also added in this list of NPCs you can help because they're in this new town, but they have their own menu of like abilities and things that they can do for you. And we'll probably reset those every time you help someone. So if somebody's ability is to like enchant one of your items or transmute it into something else, you can do that once every time you help someone. So there's a little bit of almost like a currency there, but isn't something that you can just do over and over and over again, because a lot of them will give you free items or just things that you need to limit a little bit more. But I think maybe what we'll do first is just add that foraging section. Either that or add our like location system, because we can add the foraging. Excuse me. We can add the foraging section, but it'll be random items for now, just random zero cost items. If we were to add the locations first, we could theme those foraged items instead of having to come back and theme them after the fact. So maybe let's just add the foraging menu first, and then we'll add the locations, because they're a bigger change. This is basically just like a UI menu. That you're just, I mean, it's effectively the shop, but with different items. So we can knock that out real fast. So we have our store panel here that we're gonna redo pretty soon anyway. It's very big icons and everything, and we want to fit more in. Obviously, they don't use the values of items quite yet, but I think literally just copied that for our foraging panel. So let's go through and change that logic where we need. So we have these managers that we've been using for each panel. They're outside of the actual like parent object because this is the object being toggled on and off. If they were off, we couldn't listen for events and stuff. For example, when this is off, if we had a manager on it, it's not going to do anything. We've got these managers out separate, and these are just the panels, the UI components. So that's why we kind of have this duplicity here. Alright, in our foraging panel, it's going to act just like the store. It'll populate with random items right now, and you'll drag them into your inventory, and we will just have 0 cost on them. So we'll open that up, and we'll also look at the store script and see what we can copy over. Okay, looking at this store script, looks like we have this restock store function that we call from the other managers whenever we dismiss an NPC. So that's what triggers the restock. We'll probably do the exact same thing for foraging. But we'll probably just call it like whenever you travel. So we'll add a public void restock forageables that we can use. There might be a case where we want to, maybe every time you help someone, it restocks some forageables. We probably don't necessarily want to restock them all. So we can go ahead and say like a number of forageables and default to the total amount. Maybe we'll do 3, 6, 9, 12, maybe 15. But if you help a single person, maybe you call it with just 3 or something. And then if you help 2 people, you have 6 forageables, and you might as well go grab them before you travel on anyway. But giving 15 as the start means traveling is still a pretty good way to get a lot of items. And we can balance that in the economy too. Of if you look at the store, like most things are 1 to 5 gold, or will be. So we'll balance like what it means should you spend the 5 gold buying items that are potentially quote unquote better, or spend the 5 gold traveling and you get 15 free items. Like it depends on how the items feel later. Let's see. So restocking the store is just building the UI. Show restocked label. I think we'll do the same there actually. On our forageables, we'll say like new items. So let's steal that as well. And maybe we can get both of these inheriting from like a generic store manager, or like some sort of common functionality between them, because they are functionally stores and we're going to have other ways to get items as well. But it's fine for now. And we also want this close function because we call that from the X button. Cool. So store listing. We might be able to just use that. But let's make this a singleton of a foraging manager. Let's grab our prefab for a forageable item. Let's get a reference to our display so we can close it, and maybe our container of where those items are going to go. And then I guess we'll also have a position for the floater. Okay, so that's probably all we need. Cool. So what we will do is let's call restock forageables in the game manager at the very start, so we have items and we can test it. Let's see. Guess we can look at where all store manager is called. I think it's just from the stranger manager and okay, when the items are initialized. So that's actually where we'll also want to initialize our forageables as well. Cool. So now that calls this, and what this will do is actually very similar to what we're doing here, but we are going to take this panel. Let's go ahead and say this is our display. Our store inventory panel is here, so let's grab that as our forageables container. That's where we're going to stick these prefabs that we're doing in. Let's go ahead and grab those as well. So we've got item for sale. Let's just reuse that. And we will set the shop restock floater in a bit. We'll position it manually so we can see where, but we'll do that later. Foraging panel. Cool. So we don't want a sell item panel. We will design this once we get the logic working. Once it's actually working, we'll make it look pretty. But might as well, while we're here, say foraging. Let's hook up this guy to call foraging manager, close store panel. Actually, let's close panel. Prepare for making a generic later. Okay, so that should let us close it. Let's also let us open it as well. So in gameplay references, we want to add a function for it. Toggle foraging panel. Getting to the point where all these panel toggles might be worth consolidating into one function with maybe a reference to the actual panel, but I think that's a little hard to do when we're calling it from a button. I'm not sure. But we want to do the same thing. We'll have a foraging panel. We check to see if it's currently active. And if it's not, so we're showing it, then we hide all the pop-up panels, and then we show it. So let's add that reference real fast. Foraging panel. We also want to hide it in hide all pop-up panels. And that should do it once we do two things. One, we call the correct function here, toggle foraging panel. And two, in gameplay references, we set foraging panel to this guy. Okay, so now we can open the panel, we can close the panel. Now we just want to populate it with data. So what we're going to do is take this guy. We got our store inventory panel. Let's just call it items container. Let's get rid of our discounts area. And let's go ahead and just rename like title. Wait, why? What is this? Seems duplicitous. Why do we have this? For sale items. A little suspicious, but let's just disable that and see if we run into any issues. But the actual container that we want is actually this, so we'll call this our items container, and we want to go update that reference. So foraging managers items container is this one, not this for some reason. Can't remember why this is here. We'll find out though when nothing works. Cool. So here we will destroy all the child elements, and then we will create 15 prefabs of these displays, and we will show them. So let's make sure that 15 fits fine. So 3 times 5, yeah, that looks great. We can just take all of these. We probably also want like a claim all button. 15 items is probably too much. But this is all really just a placeholder for a couple phases down when you throw a like a third person model into this game, and instead of just getting these free items from the shop, these are all the items that you can go like cut down a tree, mine a rock, harvest, catch a butterfly, or whatever you want to do. Like these are the items that you'll potentially just go get yourself, and you'll be able to get as many of them as you want. It just takes time. So if somebody's like, hey, I really need X, Y, and Z, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I have a half-finished potion, and I really want to add gold dust to that. Maybe you go out and you mine some gold, and you go buy a chisel from the store and chisel off some dust, and that's like you have a plan in mind, and then you can go through all these different ways to get the pieces so you can solve it. Cool. So let's say clear all existing forageables. Actually, that's not what we want to do. If we want to be adding more forageables, for example, when you help someone, we just want to add like a few more that you can grab instead of completely restocking the shop. We don't want to be deleting them all. But let's go ahead and click void initialize forageables for new location. This will be more of a placeholder for now, but that's where we will trigger that, and at the end of our recipe database call, that's where we'll use that instead, and then that at the end will restock forageables. And so now we can maybe rename this to like add forageables, add random forageables maybe. Let's go ahead and make that explicit just so we can kind of see better. So here what we're going to do is find 15 random items with value 0 in the recipe database. And so let's take a look at what helper functions we've already written. Maybe we can reuse some. We've got some for discovered recipes, random starting items. Let's say public list item, random items of value, int value. Not that. Okay, so here, let's say list item, items to return. I guess we also want to say int num of items. So we will loop over all of our items. If the value is equal to the desired value, we add it to our items to return. And we say if we have enough items now, we can break and return items to return. Easy peasy. Cool. So now we can back up here, say in the recipe database, give us random items of value 0 and this many items. Let's call that num forageables. And if you don't pass one in, you just get a random item of that value, which I think is fine, even though we say random items, but it's fine. Cool. So here, now we can create a display for each one, which is probably fine. Let's see what our prefab is looking like. Item for sale, store item controller. I believe we can just reuse because it's all the drag and drop, and it syncs the gold, but the gold cost is 0. We will probably split it out eventually in like more the polishing stage because we'll want different like sound effects and stuff, but it's really not that important. It's going to do the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and use a store item controller, and we will say new store listing from this item, forageable. Cool. And yeah, that's store listing dot store listing. Sure. So that'll have the original item data, the name, and the cost. All we need. Cool. All right, so this should work. All these should be fine. They'll be cleared out. They'll be populated with random items. I don't know if we have 15 zero cost items hard-coded in. I guess we'll find out. But let's go ahead and move this script over to our scripts directory. And let's jump back to our starting scene so we can load in all our libraries and stuff and test it out. I wonder if renaming that scene takes it out of my build settings. No, it does not. Why? Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So if we test this, we should be able to open up the foraging scene, which is this one. And they're all cost 0. So we have 3 gold. If we buy water, still 3 gold, and we have water. Cool. And it wasn't 15, but that's fine. This is fine. This works. We can close it. We can reopen it. And then we will trigger the restock whenever you travel, which right now opens the codex. And we will trigger add random forageables of like 2 to 4 every time you help someone. So I guess we can do that. Yeah, we'll just add that in real fast. We don't want that to scale off of whether you're successful or not. I think that can just be based on a progression of time. If you help someone, you can assume it's like the next day or something. So maybe when we do have that third person controller, we can also have some sort of like day-night system, and every morning it adds more forageables around town or something like that. But for now, when we handle the end of an NPC interaction, that's where we can go ahead and where are we restocking? I think it makes sense to just, yeah, when we dismiss it, we can restock. Add more forageables. And maybe here we'll just say 3. And we'll show the restock label. Position is going to be wonky. I guess we can fix that real fast too. So let's do that. Everything did work, so that's great. Let's take a look at store panel. Let's do some float text in. Put that in the canvas. Move it to like here. And are we setting the text? Show restocked label. We probably should show the text as well. Wonder if we have a helper for that in the float text controller. No, but we probably should. I always forget what the actual class for TextMesh Pro UI is. It's TextMesh Pro UGUI. Text display. Okay. So let's go set that reference on the float text object. This guy gets, wait. Let's make it public. I don't know if there's a, like, we could make it private and just load it here whenever we load the game object, but I feel like setting that reference ahead of time and skipping that lookup is worth making it a public variable. But I know people hate public variables way more than they should. But that, now we can set the text. So here we can say get component float text manager, or whatever it was called, float text controller set text new items. Cool. And let's just for let's also set that for the shop one, just so we know that it exists next time we're in that code. So let's say show restocked label, go find the shop code. There we go. restocked. Cool. So now, where were we? Now every time you dismiss an NPC, you should get 3 more items that are forageable. Let's go ahead and kind of clean up this UI a little bit. Let's say forageable free items, and we don't really need a help text here. Players will discover that it adds items over time and refreshes when you travel. Well, they've got the little restocked icon too. Okay. Did we test that it actually works? Yeah, we did. Okay. So that seems great. We can disable this. Everything should be fine. This forage button now works, and there's now like a few more items that you can get as a player that are random from all items right now, but we can adjust this. Instead of being all items, we can say like for the given location or something. Cool. So next up, maybe we think about how we want to do locations, or either that or like do our list of NPCs. But I think locations are probably the way to go. So one question up front is, we have this current flow where you start in the start screen, you click start. Right now you choose who you want to play as. That's going to go away when we merge them all together. But what's going to happen when you click start here is you'll be thrown into like almost like an introduction or a tutorial where you are traveling, you come across a couple people in some quicksand, you need to craft something to get them out, and then you'll see them in your first town as NPCs that you start with a little higher friendship score. They'll kind of introduce you to some of those like perks that you can use when you get those higher friendship scores, and so on. But the question I have with locations is, do we want people to have any sort of like upfront choice of what location they start in? I think no. I think the direction that I'm going down for this game is a lot of like hard-coded in items and NPCs and stuff, which will probably be like plot. But without the guardrails of railroading people to those items and NPCs and plot. So if you want to stick around in a town forever, there will always be more stuff to do, more items to craft, and so on. If you just wanted to like craft items and forage items, help people, and craft more expensive items so you can buy components in the store to buy or to build more expensive items and so on, you could do that. But I think the goal of the like flow is to have this narrative and path that players can and will eventually go down, but to let them wind off in their own path as long as they want until they come back to the main path and keep progressing. So obviously that's really hard with like progression systems in general. Like in a traditional RPG or something, you can't really let the player, like in the first town, go off and level up to level 50 and then come back and be like, all right, I'm going to progress through the story. Or like go off and get 1,000,000 gold or whatever the currency is, because it devalues everything that you've created further on in the game, like this progression and curve that you've created. But I think a lot of those progressions in more traditional games like this, where they're all kind of like collecting resources or collecting XP or collecting X, Y, and Z. In this sort of game where you're in kind of a very, very powerful position where you can create as much items or as much gold or as many items as you want, like you can't really have progression through. Once you have 500,000 gold, you can pass through this gate, where once you have a strong enough weapon, you can defeat this boss. You probably could, but it's like very, very trivial to get past. Like, we probably do want a few gates of like, oh, and you've been thrown in jail, craft yourself a key to get out, or something like that, where it's there are specific things that you need to create to progress. But I think the actual like main progression of the game is probably going to be a different currency, like how many people you've helped, or like how effectively you've helped people, maybe how many followers you've gained in all your travels. Maybe like as you help people in a town, that town grows, and so you can kind of see the effects of using your currencies a little more. This progression's still something I'm thinking through, but I think it's going to feel a lot more it's going to be different from what at least I'm used to in games, where I love grinding in games. Last night I dropped an item and picked it up in Kenshi to train my thieving, like for an hour straight over and over again, just to see those numbers go up, just so I could thieve a little bit easier later. So I love the grind, but I think with this game I want it to feel a lot more strategic. That lets you pace through the game a lot faster. A lot less of a grind, a lot less just like trying to get past a point. It's more looking forward to what's next. So I think there's got to be some balance there too, but that's kind of the direction I'm going. Right, locations. That was all to say. I don't think you should pick your location at the start. We're going to have that introduction, and we'll throw you in a hard-coded in town with probably hard-coded in NPCs that there will be some sort of story that you progress through by helping people. So that means we don't need any sort of like change to the flow from the start screen into the main. We can go ahead and I think the route we'll take is, if we click this guy, it'll open up a map. It'll be just a list for now until we stylize it, but maybe 3 different locations. We'll use AI to generate those locations, both the name and the description, and we'll store those locations in a 2D array or something, so we can keep them persistent in the game. Maybe we'll do 4 locations, so you get north, east, south, west, and then it'll be plus or minus 1 in each coordinate. And you start at 0, 0. So we want to store all that in probably like a map manager data structure of some sort. And we'll probably be generating those neighboring locations in the background without needing you to open this first. Probably when you start the game, and whenever you travel, we'll start building the next ones. So they'll all be ready. Only the most adjacent neighbors will be generated, so it's not going to like generate the whole world and use tons and tons of tokens. But by the time you go to click travel, you should have 4 options open immediately. So maybe we can start building some of those data structures. Let's go back to our main, or our start screen, where we have all of our kind of persistent stuff, big managers. And let's create a world database, a location database. So we're going to need structures for locations, probably also structures for NPCs now, because a location will have NPCs. So let's get ahead of the curve and also have a person database. And we can add to that as well as needed, but we can throw our classes in there at least. All right, big changes coming up. Here we go. This is a singleton for a location database. Let's put our person database down here so we've got access to it when we need it. Also a singleton, not a singleton key. Let's see here. So what is the syntax? I don't think. Why Why do you have an error? Oh, right. Okay, so we've got some skeleton in place. We've got a current player location that defaults to 0, 0. We have a world map. So let's create our starting location. We will call it town of Tribble, Impo. The town of Impo is small town of Impo is a poor village outside of the kingdom's castle within ocean. That's good enough for now. We'll come back for that. Basically, we just want to have a starting location so we can default there and we have data in place. And from there, we can generate the neighbors, we can generate the data of those neighbors. We'll work with that. But cool. We start here. We also now want a public class person. It's public string person name. Each location is going to have a list of person of NPCs. So this person also probably needs a profession. And we have a lot hard-coded in here that probably needs to move into this person class. But maybe we create a separate one for public class person data and start moving some of that into here. So we should have some errors up here. Let's update those. Let's actually do public static string names. And then we can say person data dot names, right? Okay. And person data dot professions. That is a little nicer to get that out of our stranger manager, which is more logic. Now we have some classes for the actual names, which is nice. And we can persist these to a file, or we can put them in the editor or whatever, but they're moving to a better place. And let's just double check we don't have any other errors. Cool. Okay, so thinking through what needs to happen here. You start on the start screen. The location database starts and defaults our current player location to 0, 0. I sure hope that this new tuple of 0, 0 is equal to this. Let's double check. Unity C# equality of tuples. Will it compare by value? They compare members of the left-hand operand with the right. So this guy is equal to this guy, even though they're different types, but they have the same values. Interesting. Here's another one where they should be equal. Okay, yeah. So I think this is fine. Oh, I like this shorthand of tuples, though. Let's see if we can use that. That'd be nice. So if we just... Can we do that? Oh, we can. No, we can't. Indent. Why not? Why not? Alright, this is fine. We can just do it longhand. But when the game starts, you're set to 0, 0. Let's call this current player coordinates. Let's say public location, current player location. So then we can say current player location is the starting location. Let's also add a public location, get location at tuple int coordinates. Write it for me. Okay. If it has been generated, return it. If not, generate a new location at this coordinate and then return it. That'll get a little hairy with the asynchronous nature of generating something there, but we can deal with that later. Okay, so the game starts. You are now at Empo, the small town of Empo. Let's create an initializer here. Let's say public location, string location name. And let's also say string description. Compile time constant, sure. So here we can say this dot location name is equal to location name and generate data. This dot description is equal to description. That makes description optional, so you could just pass in the name, and theoretically in here it would also generate the description based on the name. Cool. Let's say that is our starting location. That's a little cleaner initialization too, I think. What do you want? New. That's fine. Cool. So we have our starting location. That's going to, let's say, add person is a good one. And in here we can say public int num people is equal to 10. So for int I equals 0, I is less than that. Add person, new person. And let's say generate and add person. Add new person. Let's put all that logic just in this function. So here we're basically going to take what happens where we use this. So that's in our stranger manager. How are we creating a person here? This. So we can say person equals new person. Person.name is that. Person.profession is that. And then we add that person. And we can also start generating this person's problem. Is this the wrong random? Unity engine.random, system.random. Guess we have both. I think we want Unity engine.random, right? Surely? Cool. So also in this we can say public void generate, let's not call it a problem, let's call it a generate problem is fine for now. And we could do another class for problems right now, but I think let's just keep it nice and simple for now. And so here we can now say person.generate problem. And that'll start kicking off the AI in the back end to generate that person's problem. Cool. Let's also just say public person. Let's do a default constructor with this logic. And we can also do a something where if you have the values already, you can create them. Cool. So now we have a new person with random data. We generate a problem. We add it to this location. And we're doing that 10 times. For the sake of testing, let's go ahead and only do that like 3 times, just so we're not generating tons and tons of NPCs when stuff isn't working yet. But that's looking good. When the game starts, we create this location, which generates data, generates all the people in it. Here we probably want to also say if this dot description dot equals string dot empty, then generate a description for this location. For the case where you just pass in a name, it'll set the name and then asynchronously generate a description for it. We'll use a prompt for that later. So is that all the data we need in a location? So you start the game, you're thrown into this first town. The location probably has a store, but I don't know that we need to store it in the location because we just, well, so if we restock it every time you travel, it is a little bit weird that you can travel somewhere else and then travel back and it'll be different items. But I think that's fine, especially if the store is themed off the location's theme. If you have a like volcano with the store, it's going to have very fiery items. I think it's fine if you travel somewhere else and come back to that volcano for it to have different fiery items, because the world doesn't really just stop when you leave. They'll be selling it to other people, theoretically, or however you want to see it, but I think that's fine. I think it would make the most like logical sense to store the store items in the location because it is that location's store, but I don't think it's necessary because we'd probably end up just refreshing them anyway, and that's probably just overly complex to say like, okay, you're leaving this location, let's make sure we refresh that location store. We're going to this new location, let's refresh their store. It's probably nice to not have all those store structures in memory. You just have a single current location store. Okay. So, what we want to do, what we probably want to start with is we want to add UI here for this button that loops over the current location's NPCs and displays them in a list. And they will just have random names right now and random descriptions. I think that's great. We can generate their problems later. But let's go ahead and build that because that's going to be a pretty hefty change to the game. So before we do that, I want to look at our component library that we have saved and see if there's anything UI-wise that might make a lot of sense to bring in that we haven't used yet. Lots of good icons, but I want to stray away from image-based UI right now because we still need to add image generation to the API, and I think this will be a great game to redo and test everything out with our own image generation. So I think maybe we could take like this guy, either that guy or if we were to resize this to something like that and had a list of them with the name and maybe some descriptions and stats and friendship score and stuff, this would give us a lot more room to grow in the UI if we had a list of those versus a list of these. But I think maybe we start with these and we just have like a little person's face. We have their name, their profession, and then we will add friendship score here. Maybe some icons for like how many times you've helped them. But I think this will be a good, let's just take this for now. Let's go over to our main again and let's paste that in our canvas and let's start on a new panel. Take the nice blank foraging panel as a base. We'll say people panel. Let's move that over and cool. Let's start. We've got people in location name. we've got our close button that we'll set up. And I guess let's add that now. We got game references. Toggle people panel. Go up here and add the people panel reference. And we can go ahead and set that to and our button close, let's set now wait a gosh darn minute. Oh, I guess we have when we call the close panel. Why? This is probably just me being dumb, but I think we duplicated close panel in all these panel managers when we could just be using toggle panel that opens them. But let's leave those for now, and let's just use our toggle manager here. And if we have any issues, we'll know that that's the reason. And if there are no issues, we can go update all the other panels as well. It's not really a problem. Okay, so let's get rid of pretty much everything. We've got an image, we've got, let's split this text into two, I think. So we'll say name and profession. And this guy gets just the name. And this guy gets just the profession at size 32. And this color, let's steal that. Cool. Guess we'll size you down. And let's put you at the top and you at the bottom. Since we're not doing the image generation yet, let's go ahead and just do our static guy that we use for everything. Can't remember his picture name. Avatar. He's character sample 04. We got a couple other good ones we could use, but let's just keep the obvious placeholder in place so everyone knows that we'll come back to it later. Cool. So we need a scrollable viewport, and then we'll have that in a list. And thinking through like the windows, we probably aren't going to want everything to be opening full screen like this, but maybe we just do the functionality now of a list, and then when you click on him, it closes this panel and starts the conversation here. Alternatively, we could put the list of people in a panel just always visible, and then when you click on one, it hides itself and shows you this panel instead as you talk to them, and then maybe when you close this panel, it takes you back to the people. That might be nicer. Because then we could do away with this button altogether, and it's more just like actual navigation within the scene instead of menu navigation. Because it's a little weird to click something on the menu and have it close the menu and then update this stuff. So maybe we do... let's duplicate this guy and say NPC list panel. Let's turn off our prompt panel, and we'll make like a toggle system between the two. So when this opens, it closes this, and when this opens, it closes this. So in our list panel, maybe that's where we want to have our list here. And we can say people in location name. We got our frame. Let's get rid of the speech bubble, the speed up button, and the item submission. Well, I mean, yeah, let's get rid of the item submission slot as well. Avatar. All right, we're all cleared out. Person container fits pretty nicely in there, and we'll just have it scroll so you can go through and see all the people in this town. Click on them to start a conversation with them. So let's get our favorite scroll view component that never ever works correctly. People scroll view. Let's take this guy out so we can focus on this scroll view for now, because he's going to expand and then bring it down a little bit. Let's take off this fake transparency. Actually, let's get rid of the image altogether. So in here, if we put this person container in the content, it disappears, right? Exactly what I expected. Probably because it's masked. Okay. So let's reset this position altogether. And then if we were to create maybe a few more of those, and then add a vertical layout group, we're getting there. Does this actually scroll? I don't think so. But let's go ahead and let's get rid of our horizontal scroll bar. Let's I mean, maybe it scrolls. I don't know. I feel like this should come down a little bit further. Because we might need to just put all these in a container with like a content size fitter. But let's just test it. We put a ton in. I don't see the scroll bar getting smaller, so I don't expect it to actually scroll. Okay, now we see the scroll bar. I expect that to scroll. Cool. Let's jump in. Let's see how that looks. I don't think we should get any errors if the prompt panel is empty by default. But let's also let's bring the scroll view down a little bit more. And then maybe we can also add some spacing Like 10 maybe? No, that's, I think this is 5. I mean, they're pretty large. I'm going to make them smaller, but we'll do 0 for now. We'll figure out the spacing once I've made them smaller. Hey, Tony Sprocket. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Hope you had fun on your adventure. Let's jump back. Let's just see how that scroll feels. Actually, one thing we need to do is update the scroll sensitivity. So we have it here. We're using a scroll sensitivity of 40. So let's just copy that to make things consistent. So in this guy, scroll sensitivity of 40. All right. Jumping back to our start screen so we can run it. And I guess this will make sure all the location stuff doesn't break too. But if we jump in, avatar, set active false. Stranger manager has not been assigned. Oh, avatars. Stranger manager. Okay. Let's double check that. I don't think we changed that. Where is our stranger manager? Oh, is it? Well. Oh, I bet it's in the, we moved it to the start screen. Where indeed? Can I search components? Yes, I know it's from this script, and I would assume, okay. Gameplay references. I guess we'll just go down the list. Where's the stranger manager? Oh, right, it's disabled. Does one of these set the avatar though? Because the avatar is set. I mean, we can just leave it enabled and just have it behind, or even just move it over here. Okay, a little odd that we don't have our list. It is gone. What? It's not even disabled, it's just gone. Did I not save? It's right here. What do you want? NPC list panel. I mean, I guess I can just open it. It's gone. The whole thing is gone. Nothing has a reference to it. I didn't... Where could it go? Oh, wait. It still has a stranger manager on it. That's definitely something we don't want. So let's try that. Okay. We can still drag horizontally. We want to get rid of that, but yeah, scroll seems fine. Let's... Why is this position moving? Yeah, that seems fine. See all the people here, and then you would click on one and it starts the conversation with them. That makes sense. And we probably want this to like toggle open and closed from one of these buttons, but it's fine for now. Let's disable that horizontal scrolling. Let's put our NPC prompt panel back. Okay. So we probably do want to move this stranger manager onto like a person manager for this location. So it's got all the references. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's copy that component. Paste. It's got all the values, okay. And then anywhere we have a reference to the stranger manager, we want to set it equal to this new one, which is probably on the game manager when it loads the scene, if we need it. Let's go ahead and disable this so we can make sure everything works without it. Let's go look at the start screen and check out our game manager, see if we're trying to load stranger manager somewhere. We do have a person database, but I think that's fine. The person manager is more for the specific location you're at, managing them. So, okay, that looks fine. Yeah, we're just getting the singleton, so we don't even need a reference to it. Great. That should just work then. Cool. So now, start screen, main. We want to, let's say, person UI controller, or manager, I suppose. So here we can manage the opening and closing of both of these panels. Let's put it up top. And we can say public void show person list and public void show conversation with person. Let's get our references as well for person list container and conversation container. So here we will conversation container dot hide or dot set active false and person list container dot set active true. Just basically toggling which one is off, which one is on. Here we do the opposite, but we also want to populate it with the data of the clicked person, which we'll figure out how to do in a minute, because we probably want to make these guys buttons, but I don't know how to pass parameters through buttons. Prompt panel, list panel. Let's rename this to like conversation panel now. Let's see if we need to update. Okay, everything updates just fine. Let's say we want to default to probably just the person list open. We could default to both of them closed, but until we have a button to toggle into it, it's probably fine to just have the people list open by default. Let's see here. So now we want, the things we need to do are, one, we need to populate this list from the current locations NPCs that we generated, and two, we need to set up click handlers on each one to call show conversation with for that specific NPC. So let's work on populating that list to begin with. So I think we can do that in, let's get rid of this now that we know it's not needed. In the person manager, let's do that in the person UI manager. From the location database.people, I think is what it's called. Person database, location database. We want current player location dot people. Okay. So let's do that. Okay, we have our current location for each person in the people. We don't need to check if it's null, but we do need public game object person list display prefab. So here we will instantiate one of those. And I guess we can make that prefab now. Give it a controller that we can load data with. List person display, and that can have a list person display manager. Sure. Wait, why was that invalid? Already exists. Person display. Oh, right, it's not compiling. Cool, cool. So here we can have a little public void load person data. And we'll also give this a button component. So we can say button, and on click, can we do this? Person UI manager probably should be a singleton actually. So now, oh, okay, that's how you pass That was a lot easier than I thought. Cool. So each person being displayed, let's move this down here. When we load this UI, we are going through each person in the current location. We want to clear any existing people in the list. And let's actually move that into a public void load people list for current location. So here, got that nice reusable thing. Reload people list for current location. Here we can say person display dot list person display manager dot load person data of this person. Cool. And since we have the vertical view controller or vertical layout group, it should position them all for us. It'll also set the button on click to call show conversation with, which we'll write in a second. Let's write our load person data function. Let's finish that out because here we want a text mesh pro UGI for person name text, and also the profession. Guess we don't really need person name text. So we'll set those references, but we can just say name text text is equal to the person's name, and the profession text is their profession. So now in this prefab, we can say name is here, profession is here. Cool, that should set all that up, and we shouldn't need to do anything else with that class. So now the show conversation with person. We probably do want to be storing the conversations somewhere, probably in this person class, like a conversation history, because now we're in a spot where we will be generating their problem, but if you help them and then try and talk to them again, it'll generate a new problem, and you don't have any reference to that old problem anymore. I guess it's not as bad as I initially thought because the problem is stored on the person, so if you go to help a person and then you leave that conversation to go help somebody else and then you come back to the first person, they'll still have the same problem because we're only generating when we create that person. So that's probably fine for now. Let's go ahead and hook up showing the conversation with that person. So we will say conversation controller.set active false. And, right, that's actually true because we're showing the conversation. We want to hide the list of people. And then we will do a bunch of UI stuff here. So in our conversation panel, let's hide our NPC list panel. Let's say public text mesh pro UGI person name text. So that'll be this guy. We'll skip over the avatar for now and just do the text. So we'll have person problem text. And we want to redo all this for more of a conversation UI. We'll probably bring in some of that UI that we built in our last demo, the horror demo. But for now, this will be fine. So we're going to say person name text dot text is equal to person dot name. So we're setting this text here to the person's name that you clicked on, and then we will do the typewriter effect of their problem. So we probably don't want to do the typewriter effect if they've already sat through it once, but we do on the original load. So how are we doing that currently? Let's go look at our stranger manager. We are doing it here. So if we were to pass in like a reference back to that person, we could set a flag on it for like has typewritered, which we probably will end up doing anyway for other references as we're moving towards this like person class usage instead of just passing around text everywhere. I mean, I guess we don't necessarily need to do it in the coroutine. If they start the typewritering, we can just mark it as done because they'll either finish it or they'll immediately exit out, and then it's fine to just show them again without the typewriter effect. So let's go ahead and let's add a public bool player has seen problem. And so here we can say if the let's do it this way. If they have seen the problem, we just set it directly. Otherwise, we can. Is this public? We'll make this public. I mean, maybe we move this over to the person UI manager. We don't really need it in this like stranger data manager. Let's see how many errors we get if we move that over. Let's display new NPC message. Probably can just call that like type. No, let's keep it display. Let's take that though. Let's take our type NPC message coroutine. Because these are just UI specific things for the strangers. So moving it in the UI manager makes a lot of sense, I think. We just need to update these references. Did we miss some code? What is this? Oh, we did. Okay, so these are really all just UI pieces. So let's go take those. I mean, we could put them on the gameplay references class. Let's not mess with that for now, because we want to get rid of that eventually, I think. That's kind of a hack because we moved our game manager into another scene. But let's take avatar, speech bubble container, all the UI stuff. Speech scroll rect, item submission slot. Item submission slot label, speed up button, event label. Do we want the event label? I mean, we're going to get rid of that, I guess. So let's take it. Text content. Terrible name. Submitted loading icon. Inventory help text. Let's take these. And let's move them over here. We'll need to set all those values again, but it's fine. So now we have almost no errors. Let's go take the typing coroutine too. And I guess typewriter time between characters. Nobody has said that that is too fast or too slow, so that's nice. I fiddled with that number for so long trying to figure out what the right amount was. These guys probably should go under references. So here, if they have seen it, we just set it manually. I think what we actually want to do is just display new NPC message of person.problem text, and then we'll do this in the actual like function that gets called. So we can say if person, well, let's do what we were gonna do. So we'll say type new NPC message, and then we can say if the person has seen it, then just show it manually, otherwise type it. And then they can skip over that animation each time. Cool. Alright, we've kind of usurped a bunch of code out of our stranger manager, so we're going to have errors in a lot of places. We are going to get rid of all the event label stuff. We can just use float text later if we want, but this guy can go away. That guy, actually maybe let's play that when we show a conversation with someone. Like you're opening the door to them or knocking on their door or something. Show event label, and then we use fade out label for that event label, so we can just comment all of this out. We'll get rid of it later, but we want to make sure everything compiles and then make sure everything works and then get rid of the code, I think. We will do a little bit more here. This will get moved into the person class. Submission slot label. Let's just update these references. Person UI manager dot instance. Because there are some of these places where we do want like the logic to dictate the UI. And I don't want to think through them too much right now. We can always come back and clean it up. Yeah, this is a case where like we store the NPC's problem text, but we don't store their like farewell message. We don't store later on like your responses back to them. Lots of stuff needs to go in a list of messages format instead of just a text, but that'll be more of a larger change. So let's continue getting all these compilation errors sorted out. We've just moved most of these references into another class. Hide NPC panel components. Oh, I think we can do away with that, because that's when you dismiss an NPC, it hides everything. But now we're just going to have you go back to the NPC list. So we'll also need to think through some of that flow of, like right now we restock the shop when you dismiss an NPC, we add more forageables when you dismiss an NPC, but now you don't necessarily dismiss them, you just leave and go back to the list of NPCs. So we'll want to think through, like, you probably want to restock the shop when you help an NPC, or have some sort of night-day timer or something like that, where it's not relying on you saying, all right, I'm done with this guy, send in the next guy, since that's kind of not the case anymore. If you can pick and choose who all you're talking to and talk to this guy to find out his problem, then go talk to this other guy to try and help him to get items to help you solve the first guy, and so on. Cool. So lots of code we cut out, which is awesome. I don't know if this will all work, but it might. What should happen is we start at the main scene, we load this second scene, it shows us the person list container, it hides the conversation container. The person list container is populated with a list of people that have name and profession and have a button component that, when clicked, calls show conversation with that person. When you show that conversation, it hides the list, shows the conversation controller, and sets the name and text. And here we probably want to say person player has seen problem equals true, so we don't do the typing again. But the one thing we do need to do is go update these references, which will be a pain, but it's fine. Avatar. Actually, okay, yeah, it's just the container, not the image. Okay, so speech bubble container. Sure. Speech scroll rect. Probably this guy. Item submission slot. Item submission slot label. Speed up button. Event label, which we will get rid of. I guess maybe let's get rid of it now. Let's see if we get any errors, since we've kind of yoinked it from the rest of the code. Okay, no errors. Next up, text content, which I would assume is this guy. Submitted loading icon. And prefab list person display. And also, let's let's say those are a little more organized. So now we can say in the NPC list panel, we have the title and person problem text. Do we use that? I think that's duplicitous. We want text content. We don't need two references to the same thing. And that's also in the conversation UI, actually. There's nothing in the list, I think, that we need a reference to. Oh, I guess the title. Let's do that. Okay, so that should be good. Let's move our avatar and item submission slot down slightly so they don't overlap with this header. Sorry about that. Cool. So now everything should be set up. We should start with this guy with a title. Clicking on one of these guys, do we set both text and profession? We do in load person data. Okay, and let's make sure that those references are set. They are. Okay. Let's I guess test it. And then if it works, maybe we say that's good for the stream. And if not, we will fix it for the next 2 hours. Okay, so we have a list of people. It scrolls correctly. Their names are not set. We have a single person generated. Right, and we're not generating any problems for them yet. So let's mock that out real fast. In our person database, let's say problem text is equal to, hi, I need some things. Is this called? On start, yes. I didn't see if it set the title, but that's a good way to know if it's setting it or not. Let's double check that. Yeah, I think we'll hunt down these bugs and then we'll call it for the week. So we do have an error. That's probably our main issue, because that title's not getting set either. So this object reference not set. So we either don't have current player location, or its location name is null. Location database is a singleton on start sets current player location. Is this also in a start? It is. So maybe let's call this from the, well, so location database should happen on the start screen. Person UI manager should happen when they load this scene. So it should always be already set in the location database. But let's double check that. go on back. Let's make sure that there is a location database here. Let's set that location name just to make sure that that's not the null throwing up. Let's try it. Okay, no errors yet. On our location manager. Right, it's a weird data structure, so we can't see it in the inspector, but click here. We do have a location. So is person list title not set? Person list title is not set. Who could have seen that coming? Alright, let's try that. Start screen, let's roll. Alright, well, not quite right, but we do have Alice the bookseller, which is nice. NPC list, what do you got? You have 3 people, that's correct. This is not the container they should be added to. That is the problem. So let's go check out this main, canvas, NPC list, scroll people, viewport, content. That is the container that the person list container should add to. Cool, we have 3 people now. And if we click on Grimbald, just works. Oh, we need to hide visitors text. A little weird. Thought that was the same text box. NPC list panel is still open. Alright, so we just need to... Alright. Show conversation with person list. Right. So we kind of need 2 different let's see. Person list container. Let's call this person list scroll view content, and we also have a person list panel. Person list panel is what we want to hide. Here we want to destroy the scroll view contents, children, put our new people in the scroll view content, hide the panel, and that should do it. Okay. Were there other bugs? I cannot remember, but we probably just... Let's do one final public void, go back to person list. And here we will set that active to true. And that to false. Then we'll go add a close button. So let's grab this guy's close button. Actually, we want that on the conversation panel because we're closing out of a conversation. So, yeah. This guy, Now instead of closing the conversation, interesting that we have nothing to dismiss, but that's fine. It's probably from the surgery we did. Let's say we have show person list. Let's go make sure that we didn't just implement the same thing twice. Show person list. Go back to person list. Show person list. Cool. So this guy can now live more like here, or maybe on this side. Okay. So lastly, I want to, instead of just generating 3 people, I want to generate like 15. So we can make sure everything feels good on the scroll, everything just works out of the box, and so on. So there, got a lot of code we'll take out next time, but still need some cleanup. For our location, let's default the number of people we create to 10. That's a good one. And we still need to move the problem generation into the person object, and we want to reformat how that's structured into a conversation list, and probably add some pre-generated responses and stuff so you can talk to them. But yeah, I think that's probably good for now. Let's do one last check and make sure things are looking good. You load in. Shouldn't start with talking to a person. Person list panel is not set. That is fine. Gotta do this differentiation. So list panel is the overall panel, and the content is here, because we renamed the variable, I guess. Cool. And we do want to make sure that the start function, I guess we had an error, which is why it didn't finish executing. Alright, we're starting as an apothecary. We have a bunch of NPCs already. Nice. People in info, we got the location name. If we click on Nigel, we're not setting Nigel's text here, or name, so let's fix that. But if we exit out of here, we go back. Oh, I see. Yeah, we just have the wrong reference. We got Folk, the steward, Osmond. But now we can add like little badges for whether you've seen their problem or whether they're like their door is unlocked, locked, versus like basically have we generated the problem yet? Are they awake or asleep or something? And you can kind of go through and see everyone's problem and pick and choose like helping specific people. Right, so they're all using the one problem our first person generated, because still need to fandangle how all that data is passed around. But I think this will be good. We can talk to a bunch of NPCs. Next time we can open up a panel and get moving from location to location working. The new foraging system works, so you can go and take all these items for free. And they replenish every time you go to a new location. We'll add a little like claim all button or something once we've added stacking and sorting your inventory. Yeah, we got the store, we got the codex. We are setting ourselves up to have friendship scores and recruiting people to your party and so on. So I think things are looking good. Let me find my OBS window. Thanks for joining me, everybody. It's been fun. I stream game development every Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, right? Every Tuesday at 1 p.m. PST. I'm in Oregon, so I usually shoot for a couple hours. I'm a developer at Chromagolem, a game studio that focuses on AI in games. So this is a great example of kind of the new mechanics that you can unlock with AI. We're generating items and crafting recipes and quests effectively, and then we're using AI under the hood to match items with quests, so you have the ability to check if the player is completing quests or not. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do, and only so many hours in the day. But I'm gonna jump off stream now so I can get back to it and be more heads down instead of speaking every thought that I have. Thanks for joining me. If you liked it, feel free to follow below, and if you want to follow along at other stuff Chromagolem's doing, we also have a Discord linked in the description of the channel. Just click Discord and we'd love to have you. It's full of game developers and a few gamers, a few AI enthusiasts, so lots of fun stuff, and we're just starting to grow it. So thanks, guys. I will see you next week.